Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am so glad you guys are all here tonight as we are going to be talking about the Kybalion, the Hermetic Principles, a study of the Hermetic philosophy of ancient Egypt and Greece by the three initiates. I was blessed that a good friend suggested me to read this wonderful book. This book is very small, but is full of knowledge. This book will change your life if you apply the principles correctly. These are the laws of the universe. Ignorance of the law cannot be used as an excuse. Do not confuse this book with the New Age marketing phenomenon of the law of attraction. This principle of the law of attraction alone was hijacked as the secret. But unfortunately, the information that was provided was incomplete and useless. This is ancient knowledge that managed to survive centuries to be available for us here today. And you guys know how much I love ancient books from the mystery school of Egypt. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows this, understandingly, possesses the magic key before who touch all the doors of the temple fly open. The Kybalion. Those who are in ignorance of these principles are in disadvantage. So get knowledge. Stop being ignorant of the universal laws that are affecting your reality. Since 1908, the Kybalion, written by the hands of the three initiates, has generated a lot of controversy. It is said that Hermes Trismegistus is the messenger of this message I'm about to discuss. In this concise but powerful book, the three initiates explain 7 compelling principles and provide practical methods for applying these ideas for self-development in everyday life. Hermetic means secret, esoteric, or occult. It referred to knowledge that is correspondence with the conduct of the universe. Someone who understands these laws is wise and can use them to master all of the 3 planes of existence. Now, the name Hermes Trismegistus translates to thrice greatest, referring to his mastering over the 3 planes of existence. As explained in the Hermetic philosophies, these are physical, mental, and spiritual. In Egypt, he went under the name of Thought. In Greece, he was known as Hermes. Now, in this picture here, we have Thought, the ancient Egyptian god of wisdom, and he's disguised with the body of a man, the head of an ibis, and a crescent moon over his head. And most of the time, you will see him and recognize him because he has a tablet in one hand and kind of a pencil, well, whatever thing they were using back then, to record what was happening because he was the recorder. So, that according to the teaching, this book would be attracted to those that are ready to receive the teaching. And likewise, when the student is ready to receive the truth, then will this little book come to him or her. Such is the law, and so be it. The purpose of this presentation is not to gain popularity, as I know many will attack me for speaking truth. My main intention is to shed light into the secret knowledge that has been hidden from us for thousands of years. Trust me, this is the most powerful information you can gain to transform your life. so much disinformation around us that it seems many are lost without hope to find truth. Search for truth in all you do. Truth is simply that which is. You get truth when you are in harmony with the laws of the universe. I will be reading excerpts from the Kybalion. There is so much wisdom in such a book that I encourage you to read it as many times as you can. This is a Hermetic book that confronts ancient traditions. I have learned that the best thing you can do is to search for ancient wisdom, no matter from where it comes, and discern what is right for you and what is not. Do not take sides. This is not politics. Use your discernment and search for the truth without judgment. The ignorance will attack before they can understand. They just refuse new information because they choose one side and cannot accept the other. This reminds me of politics. You're either red or blue. No, choose the middle. Isn't that what Buddha was teaching us? Wait. General principles of natural laws. These are the 7 principles. Principle number 1 is the principles of mentalists. Number 2 is the principle of correspondence. Number 3 is vibration. Number 4 is polarity. Number 5 is rhythm. Number 6 is cause and effects. And number 7 is principle. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to cover them all tonight, but we'll see what we can do. Natural law. Now, the working definition for natural law is universal, is non-man-made, is binding and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior, is natural law, is a body of the universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. The general principles of the natural law, we have the natural law is expressed through 7 basic underlying principles, plus an 8th principle, which bind the other 7 together. These principles constitute a master key through which universal wisdom, including the knowledge of the requirements to obtain what we desire, of course, is unveiled or de-occulted. Now, mentalism. This is the first law. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Thought leads to manifestation of things and events. Thoughts create our state of existence and the quality of our experience here on earth. Therefore, be responsible for everything you create by being responsible for everything that you think. That reminds me what I always tell my kids, you are what you think about. So let's go to the book, and I'm going to be reading the first principle. The principle of mentalism. That all is mine. The universe is mental. The Kybalion. This principle embodies the truth that all is mine. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances that we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses is a spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought as an universal, infinite, living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world of universe is simply a mental creation of the all. Oh my goodness. Subject to the law of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its part of unit has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. The principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of these great Hermetic principles of mentalism enable the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all this subordinates to the mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote, long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. This is what I was saying about the secret and the law of attraction, that what was provided to the public was incomplete information, and that's why it was so confusing. Now, we think everything is separated, but it's not. We are the mind of God. We're all connected to Source. We're one with the law of oneness. Now, all is mind embodies the idea that everything that happens has to be the result of a mental state that precedes it. Everything is created twice, first in your mind as a thought, and then with your hands. Now, this may sound silly, but we do live in a matrix in which our collective mind has created all these things we see around us. We are spirit beings wearing a spacesuit. We are immortals. We never die. We're just trapped in this reincarnation process, coming back to diapers again and again. Now remember, all is mind. Whatever you think, you are. So be sure you are aware of the things that you're thinking about, because even though you don't realize that, they're creating your future. Okay. Correspondence. This is the second principle. That which is above is like to that which is below. That which is below is like to that which is above. The macrocosm, the very large, the totality, and the microcosm, the very small, the individual units which comprise the whole, are reflections of each other. The universe is holographic. It's a matrix. It is self-similar across all scales. Number 2, the principle of corresponders. As above, so below. And as below, so above. The Kybalion. These principles embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below. As below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. These are planes beyond of knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we're able to understand much that will otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is an universal law. The ancient Hermetics considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacle which hid from view the unknown. Eos even tore aside the veil of Isis to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as a knowledge of the principle of geometry enables man to measure distance, sums, and their movement while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the nomad, he understands the archangel. It basically means that everything, all of the planes of existence, are connected and in correspondence. Even more, the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. The thoughts and images we hold in our consciousness begin to subconsciously manifest themselves in our external circumstances. The mind takes everything as it is. It doesn't distinguish the substantial from the real and begin to recreate exactly that which we focus on the most. We're all connected and related, and the more we understand the internal world, the more we control who we are. I know it's hard to believe, but we have created our external manifestation, all depending on how we live our life, how we think. We are creating reality all around us, depending on how we feel or how we act. That is why it's so important to control our emotions and never entertain a negative thought within us. The universe is holographic, created by the collected mind. It's a matrix, guys. And we have created all with our thoughts. The third law or principle, vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. At the most fundamental level, the universe and everything which comprises it is pure vibratory energy manifesting itself in different ways. The universe has no solidity. As such, matter is merely energy in a state of vibration. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kybalion. These principles embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Facts which modern science endorse, and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet, these Hermetic principles was enunciated thousands of years ago by the master of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the differences between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration, from the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter. All is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scale. The vibration of spirits is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidly that it is practically the rest, just as rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at pure rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration. From corpuscle of an electron, atom, and molecule to worlds and universe, everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibration, and even on the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enable Hermetic students to control their own mental vibration as well as those of others. The masters also apply this principle to the conquering of natural phenomena. In various ways, he must understand the principle of vibration, has grasped the scrabble of power, says one of the old writers. We live in an ocean of motion. Are you aware that if you put a rock under a microscope, you will be realizing soon when you look at it that it's moving? All is vibration. Its electrons are still moving around, and there's even space between them because nothing is at rest. The practical application to this is described as mental transmutation. Change your mental state and you change your vibration. This is done by the power of will, by deliberately concentrating on a more desirable state of mind. Whatever you focus on grows. Now here, we see how our emotions affects our vibration. For example, when we are having beautiful emotions, we are in high energy, high frequency, and short wavelength, right? High vibration. Now, when we're experiencing grief, apathy, guilt, or shame, we are in low energy, low frequency, long wavelengths. So, that's why it's so important that we do not entertain negative emotions. We need to stay up here, guys. We need to stay in high vibration in order to be able to materialize things fast. We will be talking about this more in a couple of days. The law or principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has pole. everything has its pair of opposite. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degrees. Extreme means all truth are but half truth. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kybalion, and I wanted to repeat that twice for you. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were all Hermetic axioms. It explains the all paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature but different in degree. Opposites are the same, different only in degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extreme meets. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truth are but half truth. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything, and more. It explained that in everything there are two poles, or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same things, which many varying degrees between them. To illustrate, let's say heat and cold, although opposites are really the same thing, the difference consisting merely on degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The two terms, heat and cold, simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing, and that same thing, which manifests as heat and cold, is merely a form, variety, and rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat, and the phenomena attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principles of polarity. The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same things, the difference consisting of varying degrees between the two poles of the phenomena. Where does darkness leave off and light begins? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, between noise and quiet, between high and low, between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principles can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example, that of love and hate. Two mental states apparently totally different, and yet there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, and a middle point in which we use the term like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at loss to know whether we like or dislike or neither. And all are simple degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. And more than this, and consider a more importance of the Hermetics. It is possible to change the vibration of hate to the vibration of love in one's own mind and in the minds of others. Many of you who read this line have had personal experiences of the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate and the reverse, if your own case and that of others. And you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of the will, by means of the Hermetic formulas. Good and evil are but the poles of the same thing, and the Hermetic understand the art of transmuting evil into mental alchemy, known and practiced by the ancients and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principles will enable one to change his own polarity, as well as the others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. That's beautiful. Everything is dual. Right or wrong, white or black, high or low. There is no right, there is no wrong. Things just are. And I know this is really hard to accept, but it is all part of the experience. Someone told me once, "Then you're lying to me if I kill someone that is good." No, I never said that. If you choose to take that path, there will be consequences and probably even karma to repay. Now, what is the worst thing that can happen to immortal beings like you and me? Yes, reincarnating back to diapers. How terrible is it? Most people can even control their own emotions and are riding the ups and downs of the roller coaster all day long. You should strive toward a state of consciousness that's indifferent, peaceful, and not attached despite the conditions you may find yourself in. Being the cause means that you are the master instead of the victim. This is the law of polarity. Change your polarity with the power of your mind and free will. There is only love and consciousness. This is all an illusion. We are in hell. Yeah, I know of the drama. I've heard it all, guys. I heard enough so far. It is all an illusion. We are so caught up in this drama of life. And then we go in the roller coaster. Up and down we go, happy and sad, happy and sad. This is terrible. We need to stay in the middle. Like Buddha said, be indifferent, be non-attached to things. Now, as you see polarity, the two extremes. Like I said before, choose the middle, like Buddha once said. Do not take sides. Remember, things are just. Now, does that mean I will let my kids do whatever they want? Now, as I am responsible to teach them better? No, I teach them better, right? But once they are mature enough, they will be responsible for their own decisions as they have their own mind and consciousness. They're gods, just like me, just like you. Okay? So be responsible. Next time you're going in the roller coaster of life, up and down, think twice. Realize what is it that you're doing. Is it really worth it to entertain those all horrible emotions? Do I need to go back and show you this? It's vibration, guys. You want to stay up here where your vibration is going fast, high energy, high frequency, short wavelength. Don't go down here. It feels horrible. Low energy, low frequency, low wavelength. Trust me, what you are creating here is nothing good. It's nothing good. It's really bad. So please, wake up from that. Okay? Rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifest is in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The principle of rhythm. This principle embodies the truth that in everything there is a manifested and measured motion to and fro. a flow and inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and a low tide between the two poles, which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago. There is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is in the affair of the universe: suns, worlds, men, animals, minds, energy, and matter. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the lie of all things, and finally in the mental state of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermetic finds the understanding of the principle most important. The Hermetics have grasped this principle, finding its universal application, and have also discovered certain means to overcome its effects in themselves by the use of the appropriate formula and methods. They apply the mental law of neutralization. They cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effects upon themselves to a certain degree depending upon the mastery of the principle. They have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. In this and similar methods consists the art of the Hermetic. The master of Hermetics polarized himself at the point at which he desired to rest, and then neutralized the rhythm swing of the pendulum, which will tend to carry him to the other pole. All individuals who have attained any degree of self-mastery to a certain degree, more or less, unconsciously, but the master does this consciously and by the use of his will, and attain a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses, who are swung backward and forward like a pendulum. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermetics, and the method of counteracting, neutralizing, and using them form an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. There is an action and there's a reaction. You can't never annul this principle, but you can find ways to use it in your favor, like they were explaining us. All individuals that have self-mastery of this principle can attain anything they want. This principle, along with polarity, is critical to masters. Everything has a swing to it, back and forth, in cycles or cyclical movement. For example, the cycle of time. That is why history repeats itself, and learning history is so important, as we can study the wisdom of the past and learn from their mistake and success. A way to think in the principle of rhythm is that there's a way to counteract this back and forth, like the pendulum-like movement. You cannot go through life like that, up and down, back and forth. You need to neutralize the movement. And it is possible because they're telling us they did it in the Hermetic mental alchemy. It is true, we cannot annul this principle, but we can apply the mental law of neutralization. Some people ask me, Minnie, you don't show a lot of emotion. You don't have an ups and downs. You are like in the middle. Yes, that's what I've been doing for the past month, years, is finding the middle. No ups and downs, No backward and forward like a pendulum, just in the middle, because things are and I am in control. And the moment that I allow a negative thoughts to come to me, oh God, there's go again the ups and downs. I have to stay in the middle. I have to watch anything that gets in my mind because I know I am a creator. Whatever I think, I am. That's why to be in the middle and to use the mental law of neutralization is so important. Stop the ups and downs, back and forward, backward and forward. It's crazy. And it's never going to materialize any really good thing to you. Now let's talk about the law or the principle of cause and effect, which indeed is one of my favorites because I have to go over this with all my clients and many of you know what I'm talking about. Every cause has its effects. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name of law, not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The principle of cause and effects. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect, and effects from every cause. It explains that everything happens according to the law, that nothing ever merely happens, that there is no such thing as a chance, that while there are various planets of cause and effects, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermetics understand the art and method of rising above the ordinary planes of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the will and desire of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestions, and other awkward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and power, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by others' wills and environment. They use the principle instead of being is to. The master obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. In this statement, there is condensed a wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. So, being at cause means that you are the master instead of a victim. This is the law. So the magic question here is, are you at cause or are you at the effect side? Because there is no chance, guys. It's just cause and effect. Either we understand how cause and effects work, or we suffer in the play, in the game of life. Example, a little bit crawl into the edge of a building, he falls and dies. This is simply the effect of breaking the law, right? Ignorance won't save you. In all you do, find and search for knowledge. This is the game of life, guys. We are like in a chessboard, right? The chessboard of life. Be wise. Play the game wise. Don't be like the little cat, right? Cause and effect. Be at cause at all time. Now, in the planes of casualty, in the mental, all powers to affect change lies here, in the mental world. Thus, this is where human consciousness must go. Now, in the planes of effect, this is the physical world, the manifested reality. No power, I repeat, no power to affect change lies here. But this is where human consciousness is trapped. We're trapped in the effect sides. We need to move to the plane of the mental and realize that the power to change things is in our mental, in our consciousness, in our mind. It is with our thoughts that we change reality. Gender. The law and principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests in all planes. The mental gender is the state of coexistence between masculine and feminine aspect of the human mind. Our left brain hemisphere largely facilitates the masculine aspect of the mind, or intellect, which is the logic, analytical, and linear thought processes, while the right brain hemisphere largely facilitates the feminine aspect, or intuition, which is creative, compassionate, and holistic thought processes. The principle of gender. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only in the physical plane, but of the mental and even in the spiritual planes. On the physical planes, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher plane, it takes higher forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many subjects that has perplexed the mind of men. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generations, regenerations, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles of this great principle within it, him or her. Every male thing has the female element also. Every female contains also the male principle. If you will understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study the Hermetic principles. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious, and degrading lustful theories, teaching, and practices which are taught under the fanciful titles and which are a prostitution of the great nature principle of gender. Such base revival of the ancient infamous form of phallicines tend to ruin minds, body, and soul, and the Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings which tend toward lust, licentiousness, and perversion of nature principles. If you seek such teaching, you must go elsewhere, for the Hermetic contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base. So, there is gender in everything. No creation is possible without this principle. Every male has a female principle in him. Every female has a male principle in her. Without the other half, we're just incomplete. But how is it possible? Let me try to explain it. Before we came here into this plane of Terra, planet Terra, we were spirit, and as spirit, we have no gender. We're just spirit without need to have sex or have babies, right? But when we came here, The law of polarity takes action and we're split in two. That is the reason so many people are in search of the soulmate, your other half. If you want me to talk more about this subject, just let me know and I will, as by itself. This is a study that will take a couple of hours and we don't have that time right now. Now, I said there were 7 principles plus one more, right? The 8th principle, care. We can also call this 8th principle the generative principle. The last principle is the dynamic of care, what we care about on a day-to-day basis as the driving force of our thoughts and action. Therefore, care can be seen as the ultimate generator of the quality of our experience. This principle has been often been referred to as the generative principle. The word generative is derived from the Latin verb generare, which means to create. What we care enough about to put our wills behind in ultimate is what gets created in our world. The world is the way that it is because most people do not care enough, even if they say they want things to be different, to change it through their actions, but they don't do it. The 2 spiritual currencies. There are 2 spiritual currencies, time and attention. This analogy can be seen very readily in the saints spending time and paying attention. Whatever information or endeavor we put our time and attention toward, we end up getting something in return for that investment. This return could come in a form of knowledge, understanding, skill, expertise, and empowerment. If we invest our spiritual currency wisely. So, where are you investing your time? Where are you putting your attention? You have no idea how critical is this. Therefore, we should seek to improve the quality of our attention by placing it upon information that is capable of improving both ourselves and the human condition as a whole. Such an effort will also constitute a valuable investment of our time. We should ask ourselves, what am I spending my time on? What am I paying attention to? And most important, what kind of quality am I getting in return for this investment of my spiritual currency? How are we spending our time? What are we paying attention to? And then on top of that, we tend to live in a roller coaster of emotions. Today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm sad, right? Because my happiness depends on my partners, my kids, my family making me happy. No, that's not the way it is. Happiness comes from within, and we talked about that before. Ups and downs, guys. This roller coaster of emotion. You don't understand. You have to be in the middle. That is the way. Now, the natural laws, I wanted to re-mention them. We talked about that last week. Now, the laws of cause and effect, we just talked about that today. The effect invariably follows the cause. For every action, there exists an equal or opposite reaction. Be at cause, not at the effect size. You have to be at cause because you are responsible of your creation. The law of attraction. The energy you emit is the energy you attract. because energy flows where attention goes. And as you think, feel, and act, so you shall be. And the natural law of karma, or moral law. You reap what you sow. And the golden rule, do unto others as you will have done to yourself. So guys, we will be talking more about this book next week. I hope you guys get a chance to read it all so you can bring all the questions you have and we can talk more about it and how we can implement these laws and principles into our life so that we can become the person we want to be and we can materialize what we want to materialize. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight and listening. And I already have a lot of questions you guys submitted, so I'm going to be working on that to be prepared for the next talk. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, and see you guys soon. Bye-bye.